Hey guys, this is Fergal from PokerVIP. Welcome back to part 3 of Physics Coaching Player Review over on TonyBet Poker. So as I said, this is part 3 of 4 where we are reviewing player Physics Play, who is a member over on PokerVIP. So we're currently playing 4 tables of No Limit Hold'em. He has 3 tables of 25 NL up and 1 table of 10 NL. We're going to be just rating him live throughout this and coaching on his play, seeing where we can improve, look for leaks, and hopefully get involved in some interesting spots. Okay, so we have King Queen and the button in the bottom left table. Definitely a spot where we can look to 3-bet here using our strong Broadway blockers. I don't hate the flat though. Obviously not a particularly great board for us. So we have the nut no pair. Happy to check this down if we can. I'm going to look to keep checking here on the turn. As I said, our hand does definitely have some showdown here. And we bink pretty well on the river. I don't think there's any version of ourselves that doesn't have the best hand right now, so we're happy to go ahead and just bet small for value. Yeah, I like your line here. Up at the top right table, we defended the cutoff with Queen Jack suited, facing an early position open. Pretty bad board all round for us, not really one that we're going to be looking to do much on. So we check back, the 8 of spades brings on 2 potential flush draws, we have neither, and we have a pretty low equity hand all round, so we're happy just to go ahead and fold facing the aggression. And the ace-10 in the bottom left table, definitely an okay hand to be mixing up with, bringing it in from the cutoff, absolutely standard open. We have a short stacker here in the small blind. If he elects to rip it in, then we are going to call off with the ace-10, I assume. Anyone who has 10 bigs, or 20 bigs rather, we're not overly concerned. Their jamming ranges aren't going to be particularly good all round. We're going to assume someone in for that low amount of money is not one of the stronger players. So 5-6 suited, it's getting kind of close here, but I would be happy to bring this in. When there's an open, pot-sized open before us though, we can just go ahead and let this go. 6-7 up on the top left table. I didn't see the pre-flop action. I'm assuming that we opened ourselves and we got 2 callers. Third diamond on the board, bit of a disaster. I'm not a fan of this c-bet at all, the delayed c-bet. We've really limited ourselves. When we check this flop, it's very, very hard for us to have a king or a flush draw. So the only hands that really make sense are turned flush draws or bluffs. So I'm not at all surprised to see a reg player look to take advantage of our weakness there. I'm really not a fan of betting that turn at all. I'm okay with checking the flop, but it's not a hand I'm looking to continue with later on later streets. If the turn checks through as well, and there's like an extra diamond rolls off, there's 4 to a diamond, we can consider making a stab at it. But in general, there with that 0 equity hand, I'm happy just to check and give this one up. Same goes for the 7s here. I'm not a huge fan of this c-bet. The board is going to have connected reasonably well with a decent chunk of our opponent's range. Any hand he continues with is going to have a really, really good equity against us. They're going to have like hands like King Queen, like that have overs and gut shots, Queen 10 for open enders. All of their pairs are going to continue, and he can also float us there with some hands in position. And we put ourselves in some tricky spots there. We can check. Checking will allow him to bluff, so I'd be a bigger fan of check calling there rather than betting ourselves. But I'm not even sure if I like check calling there. I think we can. It's not a particularly good board all round for us, so it's not really one I'm going to be looking to put much more money in at any point. Okay, we have ace-10 in the big blind, potentially a spot we could be looking to make a play here. We're not going to be 3-betting versus under the gun open though, I hope. Pocket 10's up in the top right table. This is a spot where I'm absolutely fine just flatting and seeing a flop. 3-betting is perfectly reasonable. I'm not saying it's a bad play, but flatting versus under the gun open seems pretty reasonable also. The button called, which is pretty bad news for us because... oh, it's pretty good news when we flop at 10. But yeah, in general, when we do get called in the button there, it's going to put us in some really awkward spots. Okay, so with our set, we definitely want to see that we're going quite large here. There's no need to go as large as we are going. We do want to incentivize our opponents to stick around with King X, which, you know, there's definitely a reasonable chance they will, but they can have, like, say if he has a hand like King Jack, we bet quite large on a 3-bet pot, it puts them in a really, really annoying spot. But mainly because it's a 3-bet pot and there's 2 callers, the pot's already quite large, so we're going to be able to get stacks in versus the shorter player who is 100 bigs deep anyway. And, you know, versus the bigger player, even if we do go a bit smaller, we should still be able to get stacks in by the river as well. So I think our large sizing there was a bit of a blunder. We can make it a little bit smaller, a little bit under half pot, and look to kind of bet multiple streets there and get all the money in gradually versus King X rather than just going absolutely huge on the flop. So we have pocket tens again. Unfortunately, we don't see a 10 roll off. So this is a similar board to the pocket sevens hand earlier on. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of checking here. So I think we can check call versus, yeah, when this guy bets, we can check call. Although when the additional player sticks around, I'd be less inclined to do so. Yeah, I think when it does go bet calling, folding is absolutely reasonable. And we have a set on the bottom left. Versus the short stacker. Yeah, I guess going small. I was going to say I don't like your sizing. I didn't realize that guy was as short as he was. And he just has the stone cold nuts on the river. Fortunately, he only had whatever. He now has €3. I'm guessing he must have had about 150 to start the last hand with. So that's not so bad. Never fun to lose the short. Like when you have a set and you get, like, you know, the 15 big blind stack in, you're usually kind of just counting your chips before the cards get shown. But unfortunately, he got there in the river against us. King 5 suited versus the under the gun open. Obviously, a completely trivial fold. Oh, we've got a pretty big pot brewing up at the top right table. We have a 3-way all in. 5s, ace king, and the jack 9 suited. Mercy me. Jack 9 there, obviously a particularly optimistic all in after being the caller. Pocket 5s, I'm kind of curious how pocket 5s got it in there as well. He's just after reloading for 647, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say if he busts that 647, that is him done. That is likely his entire bankroll on the table right now. But yeah, I didn't quite see how that hand played out, but I'm gonna go ahead and wager that pocket 5s and jack 9 suited probably shouldn't have seen a flop, let alone been all in. Okay, we have a 2 pair on the bottom right table, so I think we can bet here pretty large. I don't see much reason in going small, so 170 seems good to me, and then we'll be looking to go big on the river again. We get 2 snap folds. So we have the short stacker. Physics is circling the short stacker, making sure that we see what's going on with them. So he's just open ripping there for his last €7. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he's gonna be getting all in quite liberally for the next little while until he either doubles or busts. It wouldn't entirely, like, I definitely have seen people on reg tables just going all in, like literally every single hand, and he just goes ahead and he flat calls a third of his stack or whatever, as you do. So somehow this pot is getting checked down. Looks like we're going to get to see a showdown. King Queen is good. I'm really surprised King Queen didn't get all the money in pre there. That just seems like a slam dunk spot for a short stacker who's a little bit on tilt, just to rip it in with 2 big Broadway cards. Okay, we have the ace-8 in the big blind facing a under the gun open and a flat call for the shorty. I am definitely fine with going ahead and folding here. A very similar spot like this arose, I think, in part 1, where we had a 7. I talked a little bit about it. It's just a spot where, even though we are getting quite a good price, our hand is just not going to play well multi-way at all, and we are out of position to boot. So going ahead and making the fold seems extremely prudent to me. So the 9-6 offsuit, not much we're really going to be able to do there. Even if it's folded to us, I'd be inclined just to go ahead and fold here. I do open quite wide, blind versus blind, but 9-6 off just would be a little bit outside my opening range. Uh, 8-4 offsuit again, the big blind on the top right table. Not really anything we're going to be able to do there. Hopefully we just get a walk, but if not, we're just going to be giving it up. The only scenario I'll consider calling here a raise would be if we get min-raise blind versus blind. In general, I just don't have a folding range in that scenario because we're getting 3-1 on our money and we have absolute position for the hand, so it's very hard to justify folding any two cards in that scenario. So with the deuce and a deuce, when we're deep stacked, this is a spot. If we're 100 bigs deep here, I definitely wouldn't mind using twos as a 3-bet. When we're out of position though, our opponent is going to be continuing quite correctly when he has position and goes quite deep. So 3-betting doesn't have anywhere near the same level of fold equity, so we're less incentivized to do so. Calling and playing it primarily for set value seems pretty reasonable to me. And when the original player leads out, yeah, we're snap folding. It didn't matter that the other player called. We're not putting any more money in the pot. Jack 9 suited, definitely a hand we're looking to open. The ace high board here versus the short stacker. I'm happy enough to go ahead and fire here. We do have the backdoor heart draw just if we do get called, but on the ace high board we're going to get absolutely chunks of folds anyway. And in a heads-up game, I am happy to go ahead and bet here. I know there was a spot earlier on where we betted with a hand like this, but that was a multi-way pot, it was quite different, and we were out of position as well. Where here, when we're in position and our opponent has checked us twice, I was going to say I'm not a fan of double barreling here. When we get called on the flop, I think we don't have chunks of fold equity. He will have some kind of flush draws and so on, but I think there's at least a reasonable chance he's going to be leading those flush draws into us after we check back the flop, rather than check calling them. So I'm not a huge fan of the double barrel, but I am on board with the original raise. Okay, pocket fives here. Generally speaking, I look to get kind of close to 20-1 implied. We're not quite getting that here, but we don't need exactly it. Like, you know, when we're up around the ballpark, so we're getting, I think, around about 16-1 there. So I'm okay with flatting here. This is a pretty dicey spot. It's like, I mean, as far as the boards go, it's one of the better ones for us, but I still think we got to go ahead and just check fold. We're pretty much just set mining there. Obviously, there are some other boards where we will look to continue, particularly where we flop kind of straight potential and so on as well. But I wouldn't just hate just going ahead and folding that free. It's definitely a very close spot, and that is one of the leaks I see in my students quite frequently is people looking to see flops with pocket pairs, especially when they're out of position, and just not getting the right implied price to do so. So 10-10, again, similar to earlier on, I'm okay with flatting here. 3-betting is pretty reasonable as well though. I think with a pair of threes here, I'm happy just to check and take our showdown. Yeah, I like just checking this down. Yeah, I don't think I fold getting this price. If he has a queen, then GG, or he just has the aces. How someone starts the hand with, you know, whatever 20 bigs and the money isn't, and they get to a showdown. I just don't understand how the money isn't all in the middle at that point. Like, he's obviously just not very good and is playing quite passively. I didn't see how the action went there, but as I said, if you have aces with 20 bigs or so and you see a showdown and the money isn't all in the middle, chances are you've made a mistake at some point. Obviously there are some particularly atrocious runouts or whatever, but as a general rule of thumb, that wouldn't be a bad way of, you know, considering it. So Queen 7, I'm okay with this c-bet. The king is a disaster for us. It's a really, really bad card for us to barrel. Obviously he's much more likely to stick around with his 10x here. The heart is interesting. If he checks here, I was going to say we could consider turning our showdown into a bluff by overbetting there. I think an overbet will fold out his king x incredibly frequently. And when he checks, it's pretty unlikely he's checking a flush there. So I think we can turn our hand into a bluff with relative impunity there and expect to win close-ish to 100% of the time. Now, there are some people who will just call it off with the 10, but when the flush completes, it's kind of hard for them to do so. Okay, so we check with the ace-jack, which is reasonable. We turn the toppest of the pairs, which is pretty fine. If it's checked us again, I'd be looking to make a small wager in the region of around about half pot. And with the jacks here, I think we're just happy to call and see a flop in position. We elect to re-raise, and I mean when he jams, I think we've got to go with it, but I think I would have preferred just to go ahead and call and see a flop and play post-flop poker. Like, we're never going to 4-bet fold a hand like jacks, but you know, when the money does go all in, they will have, you know, a decent percentage of over pairs there for sure. But as I said, 4-bet folding a hand as strong as jacks just does not appeal to me in the slightest. That's why I'm more inclined just to go ahead and flat there. We have a strong hand. We have position. We're closing the action. So there's a lot of pros there. Obviously the cons are, you know, there's a reasonable number of unfavorable flops for us. But when we 4-bet there, I mean, you know, we're showing immense strength. So it gives him the opportunity to play really, really good post-flop poker against us. So like if he is, like, let's say, I mean, is he ever going to continue with 10s there? I doubt it. If he's in any way confident, I think most people are good enough to be able to fold a hand like 10s there. I mean, you know, there's also an argument that if we have an aggressive image that they might just go ahead and rip 10s as well, which, you know, there is some merit to it. But as a general rule of thumb, I think we just put ourselves in an unnecessary and expensive spot there where we can call and play good post-flop poker when we have position. We don't like to 3-bet the ace-king. My standard play definitely would be the 3-bet here. I do 3-bet, like I 3-bet a reasonably decently wide range from these positions because you get a chunk of overfolds. So I do need to balance that with some of my more nutted hands as well. This is a pretty bad board for us in general. So we elect to use the ace blocker here. We're in a 3-handed game. 3-handed definitely isn't my forte, but 3-betting with an ace here definitely seems reasonable. Betting small, I'm not an enormous fan of it here with this kind of hand, because it puts us in a really gross spot here now. But I don't think we can fold. We're getting an incredibly good price here. And, you know, even just calling to improve the 2-pair there, we're getting like 5-1 on our money. Our opponent can have some bluffs there potentially. It's really hard for him to have, you know, sets. I guess he can have pocket 5s or whatever. But pocket jacks in a 3-handed game, I'm guessing will just... Because it's a short-handed game, he'll probably go with it at these levels. Three-handed games are always that bit more aggressive than the normal 6-max. So we're going to go ahead and wager a 7 and what looks like a limped pot, so seems like a pretty reasonable spot to lead with our top pair. I don't see any reason to slow down here. I'd be looking to bet again. We can get called by worst 7x, and we make sure that we charge their spades as well. That's one of the worst rivers for us. Fortunately, it goes check check though, and we are ahead. Okay, so a couple of tables have broken, so we are back. We have a 5-L, a 10-L, and the 2 25-L still. So opening queen 10 blind versus blind, definitely fine. I'd be looking to go ahead and c-bet here. We can size up a little bit just to really maximize our fold equity. There's a decent number of cards I'm looking to barrel here. The 8's not particularly great. I would prefer it to be slightly larger, but I am okay with firing again. We do get it through, which we like. Queen and a queen in the big, so we're going to look to play a decent sized pot here if we can. We do not, we just get the walk. Pocket nines here facing the cutoff open. He's a short stacker. 3-betting here just to get it in is fine. I assume the 17 big blind. He just goes ahead and he flats rather than get it in. I mean, this is a pretty bad board for us. There's no scenario where we're ever folding here, so I don't see any reason not to just put the money in now, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So he has the ace and the jack. We're going to run it twice. He gets there on the first time. Let's see if we can hold for the second. We do indeed. So chop it up, dealer. That's one of the benefits of TonyBet. It's the first time we've seen it in action tonight. You can run it twice or even 3 times on this site. And I believe they even allow certain tournaments to run it more than once as well. I think certain tournaments just are run it twice tournaments, if I'm correct on that. So we have ace king here. I'd be more inclined just to check call here rather than wager ourselves. Blind versus blind, we are going to have the best hand a very decent chunk of the time. When we bet, we're going to fold in a lot of hands that we are ahead of. We're not going to fold in any hands that we're behind realistically. And there are a decent number of good turns for us as well, so going for a check call there rather than a wager ourselves and allowing our opponents some opportunity to bluff seems like it's going to be better. Bit of a pot brewing on the bottom left table. We have one player who has just over pot left, so reasonable chance there's going to be an all-in here. He just bets like a third, which is really weird with his stack size. Kind of interested to see what he shows up with here. Receiver goes for the all-in. Not even a third, he goes for it. Maybe it was a quarter, no, it was a third, bet a third. A little under. He calls it off with the ace and the jack. That is a somewhat optimistic call down. And a bet call, no less. That was indicative of the kind of standard of play that you see at some of these tables. That is a very interesting line our villain took. Unfortunately, he's sat out. We definitely would prefer to have him buy back in and still be at the table. We'll see if he buys back in though. So 9 deuce, obviously nothing we're going to be able to do here. So pretty huge pot brewing. I think Macchiato's sizing here is way too large no matter what his holding is. Not a fan of it. We have the all-in. I presume he's never folding. The aces into the queens. Queens drawn dead now. They're saying they're drawn close to dead on the flop and dead on the turn. Easy, easy game. Kind of sucks seeing the 3-bet come in with the ace-10 suited. Definitely a hand we wouldn't have minded seeing a flop with, but when the small blind goes ahead and 3-bets themselves, not too much we can do. We can consider using it as a 3-bet bluff, or a 4-bet bluff should I say. Again, those kinds of plays I would prefer to have a little bit of information on players though. So if they're very active 3-betters, if they're overfolding to 4-bets and so on, kind of the kinds of questions that I ask of any sort of information I have on them. Excuse me. The 8-2 suited, obviously a fairly trivial fold. And there's a potential pot brewing again on the bottom left table. Mr. Receiver in the mix again. Jackson 5 down at the bottom right table. Nothing we're going to be able to do there. So when this goes bet call on the bottom left table, there is definitely a reasonable chance that the money goes all in. So receiver just elects just to rip it in now for the overbet. And he goes ahead and gets the fold. Pretty interesting overbet there. I would be curious as to what he is doing that with. Folding the 7-5 in the small blind, of course. We still have the sad-eyed player on the bottom left table. I'm just keeping an eye on him. We're really hoping that he comes back into the mix. It's not looking overly likely though, unfortunately. Ace-Queen suited down on the bottom right table. Good enough for a 3-bet here. We're looking to make it about 40 cent to go. About 50 cent now that there is a caller behind. So that is what we do. We get a flat call. Not ideal that we're out of position versus this player. If we're going to get a caller, we would prefer it just to be the small blind. If it goes multi-way though, it's not a complete disaster either. So this is a board, it's somewhat connected, but not overly so. With the backdoor diamond draw, I'm definitely okay with firing here, with the intention of double barreling a reasonable number of turn cards. Any ace, king, queen, or diamond come to mind. Although the ace actually may be a card I wouldn't hate slowing down on. Just A, we can potentially induce, and B, it's a hand that's kind of hard to get 3 streets of value from worse here. But when we do bet, I don't see any reason not to just jam it ourselves. Hopefully he has a hand like ace jack, or just has the set of 5s, which is a bit unfortunate. Never fun when you wake up against the absolute top of your opponent's range. So I think if we do check the turn, the end result is still going to be the same there. If we check, I would imagine our opponent bets, and then no matter what we do in the river, like there's never like anything where we're folding our hand there realistically after we 3-bet and bet the flop and then manage to blink top pair. It's just one of those spots where we're going to give him the business. It's just how we give him the business is the only difference. We're going to go for the, I think, not ISOing ace-6 suited there is a mistake. I think we should be really attacking this limper. So he's short stacked and he's open limping, so we're going to assume that he's a bad player. So we have a suited ace, which is going to be ahead of his limping range in general. So I'm happy to go ahead and look to get heads up versus him. So the button has the right idea here, going ahead and ISOing to about 110. So my standard ISO size would be to €1 there, and that's exactly what I'd be doing. So in this scenario, I'd be looking to bet. The thing about short stackers is they do tend to play reasonably honestly a lot of the time. So he's just going to be limp calling. When he doesn't connect, just check folding at a reasonable chunk. Obviously there are exceptions to that rule, but I'd be playing it literally exactly like our button is playing it right now, and hopefully we'll be getting the fold. Eight 5 suited, a little bit loose, but definitely okay. So we would have gotten the call. When we picked up the heart draw on the top left table, I would be looking to fire again here. If we were still in the pot, I mean, of course. Okay, bottom right table, we pick up the diamond draw. We do bet it, we get called. I'm happy just to go ahead and look to play for stacks here. We bet 40 cent here, which... yeah, there's no way we can organically play for stacks here. This guy snap called, so yeah, I was going to say I kind of like just jamming it here. He called me, he just didn't even think about it, he just straight away snap called, so when he does that, I'm definitely okay with just going ahead for the overbet rather than just going for, you know, like a euro value. We want to make sure that we, yeah, I like that. And he has the ace tray, nice. So happy to go ahead and ISO here with the king jack. I'll be going, oh no, we only limp. 100% ISOing here versus the limper. I think that's 2 times where we've missed a really juicy ISO spot versus a short stack limper. So we really want to be going out of our way to getting heads up against these guys with hands, you know, that are reasonably good. King jack has strong top pair potential when we're out of position, which is a good thing. And you know, the ace-6 suited in the other scenario, it has reasonable flop potential, but as I said, being in position counts for a hell of a lot. Not loving this, but we're never folding, so we must call. Yes, the king 8. That's kind of annoying. But yeah, as I said, we're versus a short stacker there. We're never planning on hero folding there. It is what it is. If we're beat, then we are beat. But the fact that he's showing up, we're just finished up there now. The fact that we're showing up there with the king 8 just shows just how good our ISO there can be. So it kind of means that he's just limping an incredibly wide range, which is really indicative of a lot of short stacking players that are open limping like that. So we really want to be punishing them as much as possible where we can. So that and the ace-6 suited are really juicy spots where we should be looking to attack as much as possible. Anyway, that's part 3 from me, guys. I'll be back again very soon for part 4. I hope you are enjoying the series. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.